Hey everyone, my name is Karen Blake, and this is my library assignment. So the comic that I chose was called Unit Primes, and I'm very excited to get into it. So let's do that. Primes. It was created and written by Chris Dreyer. He also inked the work as well. And then Jacob Paplum, he helped write it, as well as Federico Zumel, who penciled the work. The page count for this story, even though it says that it's 98 pages, there's a bit at the end where it's just a bunch of words, just in a novel type style. So I counted and I say it was about 75 pages long, despite some of the panels being blank and void of bubbles or any text at all, such as this page. I think they did that in order to show the action instead of telling us. Now, that was about a few pages of that, and I think that's okay if you can do it right and you don't overdo it, and I think they did just that. Moving on, I said that Act 1 started here and it ended on page 19. And then Act 2 starts on page 20 and it ends on page 51 with everyone leaving LB on his own, which is the child that you see in this panel right here. And Act 3 ends on page 75. Also, moving on, we have the question of whose story this is. And right here, all of the characters that are important are in this one page. Now, for me, it was difficult to really pinpoint whose story it was. For some people, it could have simply just been LB, who is found right here. But as I kept reading, I really saw that it was this character right here. Her name is a little hard for me to pronounce, so I'm going to try my best. Urilo, this character right here, I really felt like it was her story because even though this child came and he's in a new area and it's all new to him, I just really felt like we saw this woman have a chance to have a child, and you see how that affects her and affects her husband, Alo. He's seen right here. And even Harko, who you see up here, he has a big part in the story. But I still found it, to me at least, to be Yolaro's story, despite the child coming into this new and crazy universe or setting. Moving on to the next question, the story itself was really, really good. I felt very connected to it and could empathize with each character. Despite not agreeing with each character, I still found myself being able to agree with them, and if I saw it through their eyes. There is a distinct beginning, middle, and middle. The ending is a bit strange, just in the way it felt like it could have been just a leeway to another story, which was fine and it worked very well for this comic, but it didn't feel as clear as the beginning and middle of this story felt for me. Also, as I stated before about the characters, they're all very important, I feel like, and they all have their own distinct part in the story. But if I had to pick someone who had a solid story arc, I would definitely be picking Alo. We see as his wife falls in love with this child, this human child, despite her not knowing him or knowing exactly what he is. And that might be very hard on a man who doesn't feel quite the same. So, as the story progresses, we see as Alo tries to take in this new child and tries to deal with his wife falling more and more in love with this child, even though it's not her child. The final breaking point for him is coming soon. We see here he's getting angry at the fact that they're all acting so normal and trying to protect him from the child from the fact that unit primes are coming, and they're gonna they might be able to destroy everything that they have worked for. So you see here that he has broken down finally in anger. But later on in the story, we see that he opens up to the child a bit more, and he actually cares about his future and what he can do to protect that. This story's transitions are there, and they are smooth, and they can go from storytelling, recounting, as we saw in the first few pages. But there's not too many of those sequences that happen, or transitions that happen. It's mainly just in the beginning when it shows the action happening. And then, from what McLeod has described for the action to action transitions, we can see that on page, it's more towards the end, and it's with LB. It breaks into panels showing action that is happening. Like here, we see him running and finally getting to where he's supposed to be, his destination. And then, moving on to the next question about the mini comics, we have a character I mentioned before, Harco. I feel like this page right here, this page is very good. You see him here. He's a little hard to see under all of these different characters, but I feel like this was a very good example of a mini comic because you want to know if he survives. I mean, it looks pretty detrimental, and it is, but you, as the reader who has never read this before, you might think, okay, well, maybe, they'll come and get him and help him. And I feel like that was a very good page to show for a mini comic. Lastly, I would definitely recommend this to any of my classmates, especially this group of people that we have, because they all seem to appreciate a deep and meaningful story, and I really feel like that was presented here with this comic. You watch as these people bond with each other, and I think that would be a very good comic for people to read. And if I have to say so myself, I think this is the best comic I've picked out of this whole time being in this class. I would recommend this to my friends as well, despite them being more into Marvel and DC. They may not appreciate it as much as my classmates might, but I feel like they could still grasp it and appreciate what is being shown in this comic. Lastly, as a last note, just by reading this comic, I could tell that it was setting up for another comic. So because of that, I'll probably be purchasing this comic. I felt a deep connection with it, and I think that it's worth reading more into, and I would definitely pay for that. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening to me stumble over my words for about 10 minutes. I hope everyone did good with this assignment, and I can't wait to see everyone else's work.